So as far as artificial intelligence, I don't think there really is such thing as artificial intelligence. I think there is ways to manipulate the body to make it do a certain thing. But when scientists are playing with viruses and they're playing with bacteria, they're playing with protozoas, proteins, funguses, and parasites, when they're playing with that, they may be using it for nefarious means. Okay. And so when something can be used for evil, it can also be used for good. Remember, we live in this world where it's as above, so below. Okay. And so this is where you have to understand the evolution of humanity. Those that are able to adapt to these viruses that may have been man-made or artificially made, but it's not really artificial, it's still using the acids and the proteins and the different protons and electrons, okay? And they're just putting them together to have a specific outcome, okay? Now, with bodies that are weak, they're going to react adversely to these viruses, these viral proteins. These viral proteins are basically genetic information that is not made of a cell, okay? These are proteins that are housed in an envelope and have the ability to insert the genetic code and then replicate. Well, what is this genetic code? Well, it just depends on what these viruses are targeting and made up of. And so if you have a respiratory virus that is like killing people, well, they're only killing people who are weak. But what would happen if a person was strong? Okay, this virus would actually upgrade them. It would actually make them more advanced in their respiratory system, as well as then it would be a chain reaction of other systems. Okay, but you have to have a very strong body. You have to have a balanced biochemistry. You have to be strong enough to handle the new data that coming into your environment. And so artificial intelligence is like creating an evolution that is maybe not be so like, well, it's taking all of the data of 7 billion people versus maybe 1 billion many years ago, and advancing the capabilities of biodiversity. That's what artificial intelligence is where you can take the massive amount of data that's in the environment of 7 billion people and biodiversity, put something together, like make a recipe, like in a lab in Wuhan, and then release it into the environment and see who's able to adapt to it and who actually will die from it. The ones that adapt to this virus are the ones that are going to evolve to the next level. The ones that die from this artificial, which is not really artificial, it's just it's a recipe that someone created. That no, you didn't really find it in the ground. Just like with jelly juice, you didn't find jelly juice in the ground with jars hanging from the trees. No, it was a concocted type of recipe that is safe, that is probiotic, that is using the right types of elements together. Well, these coronavirus and all these different viruses that are man-made in the laboratory are working with the same elements, the same bacteria, the same acids, the same protons, neutrons, electrons, okay? And then it is released to the environment, and then very strong bodies will adapt to it. Weak bodies will have so much antibody accumulation because their body is so weak it can't handle new information, and so the body is trying to protect itself and balance it out, but then you have so many antibodies then being created all at once, and that's what destroys a person because they don't have enough release. Their autophagy process has been stagnated because of imbalances, which is why they're reacting adversely to this virus in the environment. Okay, so we are now experiencing the next evolution. This is artificial intelligence. Man actually can play God. Look what I just did with the J juice. I have given people the opportunity to take cabbage water and white salt, ferment it, and watch the healing process, understand the healing symptoms. No, we didn't find this in trees. There were no jars in trees, but we took human ingenuity and we put something together and we found a very specific result. Excuse me, found a very specific result. Well, no different than those scientists over there in Wuhan that created some artificial intelligence and release it. Those are the aliens in our environment, is these bacteria, these proteins that started life a long time ago, that then was able to work with the viruses, which is genetic material, that insert the DNA into the bacteria, the fungus, the protozoa, and the parasites and the proteins. And then there's a specific outcome, which is either a human, an animal, a dog, and that's where you have all the classification systems, the animals, you know, the insects, you know, the trees, and all that stuff. Now, there's a specific design that someone created or something created, and I don't know whether chicken or the egg. Was it the chicken that created that one single-celled organism that created then another person, that you can have that infinite fractals? Or was the egg that came first, a single protein that came first, that created the chicken to then create the egg? That's what it comes down to. But it doesn't even matter where it originated from. Who cares if it's a chicken or the egg? Who cares who released the coronavirus? It doesn't matter. Now, here it is. Can you adapt to the new artificial intelligence? Can you adapt to the new environment? Is your body strong enough? That's what it comes down to. And so this coronavirus is going to then take away those that are not evolving anyways, and it's going to upgrade and evolve those that are strong enough. But you have to understand what elements you have to bring in. And once you understand what started life to begin with, which is basically a single protein made up of like 10 amino acids, way back 3.9 billion years ago. And then from there, life started adapting. And then you have the viruses, which is the artificial intelligence when you think about it, inserting DNA, then evolving. And then you have the parasites to help evolve that entity. And then you have the protozoa that's able to you know, synthesize nutrients. You have the fungus to clear out the waste, send messages and all that stuff. You have the bacteria to do the digestion and to help synthesize and process all of the proteins and the minerals and the acids. And then now you have intelligent life that is evolving. So yeah, I mean, I could see where humans have evolved from single life forms to then you know, maybe a fish or or a mammal or something. You know, I mean, we learn about evolution and Darwinism back in school, but then there's that missing link between Neanderthal and Homo sapien. Well, I think of the virus and people procreating, and viruses and people adapting and becoming more evolved. And then you have these plagues, like the bubonic plague, the Spanish plague, all the different plagues then destroy the weak. And then only the strong survive. And then guess what? Humans then procreate on strong bodies because only the strong are left. And that's why we keep recycling. So it seems like probably every maybe 300 or 400 years, we have a clearing out, the purging. Just like with the J-juice, you purge out the stuff that doesn't belong. You keep the strong cells, and then you regenerate. You then reproduce the strong cells. So you have strong new cells. Well, that's no different than when this virus comes in and takes out the weak. So only the strong are left, and then the strong are going to keep procreating. But now I'm introducing something different. That what if we didn't have to procreate, that only the strong are left that didn't have to procreate, didn't have to die, and they kept the balance of body, mind, and spirit, as well as with biodiversity. So that's why the Jilly Juice is no different than this virus, because the Jilly Juice will take away the weak, take away the bad cells that are misfiring and have all these issues, all the predispositions. You can then feed and correct the cells that have some kind of chance, or you wouldn't be here if you didn't have enough cells that kept you alive. Well, that's no different than this coronavirus taking away 6.5 billion, and why somebody professed at some point that we're going to only have 500 million left on this earth. And then you saw that thing about Dean Koontz and the Eyes of Darkness, and how they already kind of like predicted it in 2020, we're going to have a Wuhan virus, you know, that's going to take down most of humanity. Well, you know, whether it's man or Mother Nature doesn't even matter, because man is Mother Nature. And so man, just like me, made the Jilly Juice. Man can make viruses and bacteria that will be pathogenic on weak bodies and are completely evolutionary on strong bodies. And that's exactly what I'm going to be writing in my book. is taking it down to the most simplistic first life form, which is a protein that's able to function in a halophile environment, a very salty environment. That's why we change from the pink salt to the white salt. And then you have the viruses, the bacteria, the protozoa, the fungi, and the parasites, all helping that protein grow and develop and evolve, taking on new information, evolving. And then there's specific functions of these proteins, specific functions for these parasites, specific functions for these protozoa, specific functions for the viruses and the fungi. And that is how life started. And so with the whole J juice is you're going to take your cells back to where it was in a very salty environment, developing and growing and evolving. You're going to purge out all of the crappy cells that are misfiring, causing your imbalances. No different than this coronavirus purging out the people who have weaknesses. I mean, you see many people die in your world, right? They die because they haven't been able to adapt. They have maladaptive traits. And so artificial intelligence is when somebody wants to figure out, somebody or something wants to keep recycling humanity and basically doing a purge. Because that's what this whole coronavirus is. It's a purge. No different than doing the J juice. You're purging out the bad stuff, keeping the good stuff, and strengthening. So in a lot of ways, I don't mind this virus. I will withstand this virus because I have the means to. I understand what starts out life. The salt I'm not afraid of. I change from the pink salt to the white salt. I keep a relatively good, I mean, I don't need to eat clean because my body is able to function that effectively. And I'm clear-headed. I know my boundaries, and I set boundaries from other people who don't know their boundaries. And I have a desire to live and a desire to teach anyone that's willing to learn. If I had a child, I'd teach my child how to now get along in this world and be completely happy, healthy, not so much happy, but healthy, and breaking the chains of destruction in the family. That's what the whole point of the Jilly Juice is, to break the chains of destruction in families. Family genetic lines are being completely looped, and every single bad habit and thought process that's on a death trajectory gets passed down until that family genetic line becomes no more. Okay? So artificial intelligence, the aliens, are the people that are able to evolve. And so man can kind of preemptively urge along, or it may happen naturally, whatever that, not naturally, it may happen organically. But no matter what, Jilly Juice came from jars, came from fermentation, came from cabbage water and white salt. It didn't grow on a tree. It was something that we put together, just like Wuhan. They put together these very advanced forms of strands of DNA that came into a virus. And now, are you going to evolve, or are you going to be adversely affected, taken down several notches, if not completely destroyed altogether? Have a good day.